Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from Victoria, and here is her story. Hi, Ollie. In my last story, you recognized my narc mother Joan as a shoplifter at Macy's Herald Square. I remember that. That was a while ago. I was the indentured servant, only daughter raised by the narc baby boomer divorcee with golden child brother who pissed on my diary. Regarding the geography, you guessed. I grew up on Long Island. Joan's closet was Macy's in Manhasset. She frequented Roosevelt Field and obviously went to Herald Square. When I was a kid, she went to Douglaston Plaza because she was dating a married guy and wanted to see his wife who worked in the store, see what his wife who worked in the store looked like. I also remembered that she always asked to hold my purse in a store if I was going to the restroom or dressing room. I always said no because something didn't feel right. Yeah, because she was probably loading it up with shoplifted goods. When I was a kid, Joan said she shoplifted sweets from a corner store as a little girl. She said she was pretty, so she'd purposely smile at the owner behind the counter and say hello, so he wouldn't suspect her of stealing. One time her mother caught her and beat her with a hairbrush. As a kid, I thought this story was a warning against stealing because the punishment would be bad. After your video, I think she was bragging to me that she got away with it. In her 40s. Of course she did. The narcissist always wants you to know. They always want you to know they get away with it. They can't help it. They can't help it. I said I'd write again if the 97-year-old Baroness dies. That's my father's narc mother, and his two brothers are the son husband. Son husband 1 was in marketing for luxury adult beverages. Son husband 2 is a priest. Last fall, my father heard from a distant relative that she died. My father heard a week after her death, then told me. His wife called son husband 1, but he hung up each time and wouldn't return text. In my last video, I said son husband rewrote her will and her house was transferred to a new unknown owner for $0. We don't know what her cause of death was, although she was 97. Maybe her chute didn't open. Although at 97 there aren't too many possibilities. Maybe she was pulling a carjacking. I don't know. As per Google, there was a private cremation and no real funeral. This is the second time in 10 years my narc family wouldn't hold a funeral. The last private cremation was my brother. A few weeks later, there was an obituary that read just like the drunky one you shared on your channel. It was like a PR piece. She has a basement full of artwork that I assume will be sold, plus tons of jewelry and antiques and a special car worth $80K. Of course, they don't want to put it out there that she's dead because, the vultures gotta pick through the goods. Okay? The vultures don't want to announce when the narc dies, okay, because they want to pick through the will. The obituary was about her art, global travel, awards, and her property. I have Google alerts set up for their names, and recently the two son husbands were at a gala accepting her Lifetime Achievement Award. They're still riding her coattails. So this is the end of the road. She died, and it's like I never existed, and neither did my father or half-brother. All those years spent isolated as these people's servant, and I was never real. I don't know much about my family's history. I found a picture of my paternal grandfather on Ancestry. No, I did not give my DNA to any companies. I saw a physical resemblance and thought, wow, this is real. I wasn't familiarized with the European cultures they were from, even though the baby boomers were. Was this all just to make sure I wasn't part of the family? My mother isolated me from her siblings and their children 10 minutes away. We saw them briefly twice per year until I was around 13 and their oldest was 7. Did she cut me off at that point so those kids wouldn't be old enough to remember that I exist? Yeah, probably. Listen, they always want to isolate you. I had cousins that grew up on my same block. I wouldn't have known them if I ran or hit them with my car. That's how weird. On my mother's side, this was. This is on my mother's side. On my same block. On the other side, I have cousins. There were second cousins, but they were cousins. They were definitely family. And they wanted nothing to, and what I figured out is they wanted nothing to do with my mother. Nothing to do with Virginia, my mother, her sisters, any of them. Any of them. I wrote before that my maternal grandmother kept marrying richer men. Did I mention my family came from Germany? My mother's father was Jewish. My mother talked about how much he loved her and treated her like a princess, yet she was openly anti-Semitic. I won't repeat the vile things she said, but it included bizarre food and style restrictions. I wasn't allowed to wear my ponytail on the side of my head because she thought it looked Jewish. We weren't allowed to taste brisket or matzo ball soup. Suddenly, when I was 9, she joined the church and told me it was important to show the world we're Christian. My therapist thought this was a manifestation of narcissism where she had to feel special and different from the rest of the town. It's also part of the isolation. Okay? The worst thing, I mean, especially within your own family, the worst thing you can do, well, not the worst thing, but in the Jewish community, if you convert to Catholicism and it's and then try to shove it in their face, no wonder you felt isolated from your family. Everything your mother does is an isolation technique. I suspect it runs deeper. Did she hate her father? He was a veteran and buried in a cemetery across the road from our neighborhood, yet she never took us to visit there. She never showed me a picture of him. I always felt like I don't belong anywhere in life, like I don't actually exist. I want a connection to the past. I'd also like to explore their cultures, but I don't know how in an appropriate way other than visit museums and historical sites. I barely have knowledge of the family medical history from when I see a doctor. Joan idolized Italians. The Baroness was the only full Italian person in the family. When I moved out, Joan got close to an Italian neighbor and her daughters who were the ages of my brother and me. She spent holidays with that family, bought them gifts, and would talk about how wonderful they were. There were so many ways she crushed my self-esteem, but this wasn't something I could change. The racism was horrible, but was also embarrassing and confusing, which is weird because Italians and Jews are basically the same people. They're basically the same. An Italian mother and a Jewish mother are the same person. Just one cries over Jesus, the other one doesn't. My mother was relentless in criticizing me, especially my appearance. She was always prettier, skinnier, just overall better. Being Italian was better than being mixed. Everything about me was wrong and disgusting. I have typical European hair, but she said it was a rat's nest and used a racial slur against black people to describe it sometimes. My hair was messy, but she didn't let me have the tools to care for it. Her fried hair was important enough to be styled. Now I get nice salon treatments and good products. My hair and appearance are so important to me. I need to look great. I don't want to see that poor, unloved child of divorce in the mirror or let anyone else see that I was once that kid. I still fight that feeling of shame. I recently got cosmetic procedures and finally don't hate what I see in the mirror so much. I started before and was in I started before and was into acting, but that prompted me to get more. I like my new work in the entertainment industry. I feel appreciated for who and what I am. Regular but minor work on a TV series made me a SAG member. There's a few shows about lawyers or DC government that have me on a few times per season. There's a hefty fee to join SAG if you become eligible. I had a solid work opportunity I needed to join for. The reason for anyone to join is work opportunity and perks, but my husband thinks I wanted to join to feel special. I do feel like part of something prestigious and exclusive now, and I like that. That I'm the only one in the family to achieve this, and I'm objectively not the untalented one in the shadows anymore. They were all about status and joining expensive, exclusive social organizations while excluding us kids. I think your husband's right. I mean, it's great and all, and congratulations for your career. Okay, but when you're minimalized and you feel like you don't exist like that, you will gravitate towards, and this is how people get sucked in. I'm not calling SAG a cult or anything, but this is how people get sucked in the cults and the religious organizations, and just like this, because people are looking for something where there's meaning, where they matter, where they're not invisible. I don't know for sure how my brother died or much about his adult life. All my mother told me was he lived with a roommate in upstate New York, that the roommate went to bed and when they woke up he was dead on the couch. My mother told me he worked in retail and was an amateur wrestler who took opiates due to sports injuries that wouldn't heal. She said his official cause of death was pulmonary edema. I was in my last semester of nursing school when this happened, but I wasn't able to fully put the puzzle together until years later when I searched online for evidence of his life. I found a MySpace account about bodybuilding, wrestling, and using and dealing steroids. Now I know that steroids elevate blood glucose, which stresses the heart, and opiates slow and stress the body too. So that combination could produce left-sided heart failure in a 29-year-old and cause pulmonary edema. I assume he died of an accidental overdose, but I'll never know. Steroids does so much damage to your heart. You just don't know. Just assume the drugs killed him. There's another piece to the puzzle. When we were kids, my mother took us to different doctors all the time with fabricated or real but long-standing symptoms. One day, she came home with my brother, who had a glucometer machine to take finger stick glucose for a diabetic person. My brother was maybe 7 and threw the machine soon after. It broke and my mother angrily said she wouldn't pay for another. She said checking his sugar was too much work. I don't know if it was different in the 80s, but who just prescribes a glucometer and finger sticks at mealtime if the patient isn't pre-diabetic or diabetic? I don't remember him taking medications. As a teenager, my brother drank and did drugs with his friends in the house and had episodes of pancreatitis. He was sick all the time with bronchitis or abdominal pain as a kid. He had these gray, flaky rings of skin around his neck, which is a sign of uncontrolled diabetes. I didn't understand what this meant at the time. Now I think he was truly diabetic. All we got was the cheapest junk food. The Baroness absolutely knew about this and would say things like, "Well, I can buy the low-sugar ice cream." I don't think my father knew because he never mentioned it, and we all ate the same decent food for the short time we got visitation. My brother got in a lot of trouble as a teenager in school with drugs, wrecking cars, and stealing from cashier jobs. She seemed unfazed by the car collisions, just like she was with my ruptured appendix and my brother's eventual death. Joan told me we had to go to college or she'd look bad. She also wanted us out of her house. She wouldn't help my brother look at colleges or let him visit any. She said she didn't care where he went or what he studied. He could only apply to one state university. He went to a big state campus known for a party culture. He had drug and alcohol problems and got worse there. I know little about his adult life, but was told it took him 6 years to graduate with a degree in film interpretation or something oddly specific. For the record, I was allowed to see a few colleges, but only on the official quick tour and with Joan. I wasn't allowed to meet students or stay overnight or learn anything meaningful about the college. Nobody believes me, but I think she wanted us dead. I am the only one I am the one it was too hard to kill. That's the problem with us. We are hard to kill. We're kind of like Stevens, like a Seagal movie. We're hard to kill. I'm convinced she was nothing but an extremely attractive, unemployed gold digger who saw a notable family with an Italian-American artist and a fancy country club membership and a lot of money. We kids were an anchor to that family, so it didn't matter how long we lived. We just had to live long enough to anchor her in. So when she wasn't getting all her alimony and child support, we were toxic assets she wanted to dump. This is the well-off family that was so cheap with things for us, even clothing, food, and school supplies, while they took lavish vacations, wore designer clothes, and drove imported luxury cars. It's family that as soon as we were old enough, we had to get minimum wage jobs so they could get off her payroll. Of course, Joan has a government job that her brother's rich mother-in-law pulled strings and got for her, but she didn't work until she was 40. There was also an incident where our asshole drunk baby boomer neighbor, Richard Spagnolio, came over when we were home alone as elementary school kids. He threatened to come back with his shotgun if my brother ever took his son's seat on the school bus again. We told her when she got home. She shrugged and said not to anger him or ever speak to his family again. I'm not a parent, but if I had kids and someone threatened them like that, you better believe I'd be coming for them in every way possible. Yep. Here she wanted you to dead. Listen, the narcissist always wants us dead. We're just hard to kill. That's all. I recently turned 40. I turned 40 recently, and after not hearing from her for years, I received a series of boxes of old junk 2 weeks before my birthday. There was no note. I threw out the junk. One box had photos, mostly ones I had taken during college, or just me in his school. There were none of me with my brother or any of the other family, which is what I wanted for years, but she wouldn't give me. I'm glad to have the college pictures, but feel like the boxes are another "you piece of shit" message. Of course they are. My husband thinks the timing is a coincidence. No, there's no coincidences. With the Baroness dead, she and son husband one are cleaning closets, cashing out, and selling their property and moving to Boca. I still think she sent them at a milestone birthday as a message that all I've ever deserved is trash and I should be thankful for it. Yeah, she's basically saying all you deserve is trash because you are trash. I did not respond, but there was no note anyway. If she finally is moving, she won the game. She got tons of money, a government pension, Social Security, no relatives to be responsible for, and new stores to steal from in Boca, or wherever she goes, as long as it's not near me. I don't know how to end this letter, so I'll just end here. Thanks for reading. I hope your cat's feeling better. Yeah, she got what she wanted. She got what she wanted. Well, not really, because you're not dead. The narcissist, she did everything to kill you guys off, to make you disappear. And the problem with us is we're hard to kill. It's like a Seagal movie. You know? That's why, and that's what drives them insane, is we don't go away. We're just hard to kill. And you don't need any of this. And look, who knows what she had to do and what strings come attached to all of this garbage. Because that's what it is. It's garbage. Just be happy. You're stronger than everybody. And you're hard to kill. So, I hope that helps. Thank you for another contribution and story, Victoria. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, or a Facebook live chat, or you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been The Narcissistic Resistance.